Hello and good day to the one who is listening in this video. So before I formally begin with my discussion, I will just introduce you briefly myself. So I am Sir Fritija Doctolero and I'm going to discuss today about epidemiology. Okay. So before we begin formally, I would just like to have a recap first as what you have learned from last week. So far, I hope you have learned already what public health is, no? The different terms related to public health, the history of public health, okay, and even the various agencies involved with public health. So now, we'll go into one of the scientific disciplines where public health is anchored to, that would be epidemiology. So what are our objectives? Okay. So actually, I will present to you 6 objectives, 3 of which that will be the main focus of this video, and then the next 3 objectives will be the focus of the next video. Okay. So these are the objectives of the topic epidemiology. First part one of epidemiology. So first is to identify the different terms and variables commonly encountered in epidemiology. And then we will discuss the history of epidemiology. And the last one is to display understanding in the 3 basic types of epidemiological studies. So these are the 3 objectives that we will focus in this video. For the next video of part 1 of epidemiology, what we're going to do is to try to explain the importance of using rates, describe the occurrence of disease in a population, demonstrate the process of reporting births, deaths, and diseases, and of course, yes po, this topic that I will present for this week will involve computation. So as early as now, I would like to emphasize that for the quiz this Saturday, for the final exam to be done in the first week of August, you need your calculators. So no need po na scientific calculators. Even the simple or the basic calculators of your cell phones or even the manual na calculators will do. Okay? But again, in this video, we will focus more on concepts. So sa next video na po ng part 1 of epidemiology, mag-focus tayo sa computations. Okay? So let's begin. Now, usually, okay, when we talk about public health, we are considering a community or a population. And I hope you already know what's the difference between these 2 terms, the community or population. In terms of epidemiology, um, you will observe or you will, anong tawag nito? Mapapansin po ninyo na mas madalas ko pong gagamitin yung term na population. Okay? So, yun po. Yun. When we talk about the population, population is actually made up of this what we call human being. Correct? So, let's begin with that one. When we talk about a human being or when we talk about an individual, and this individual wants his or her health status to be assessed, saan po siya pupunta? Diba? Pupunta po siya sa tinatawag nating primary care physician. Yung ating mga tinatawag na doctors or mga private doctors, for example. So yung pasyente na yon, yung individual na yon, pupunta sa isang primary care physician para malaman yung kanyang health status. Ngayon, pagdating niya sa primary care physician, sa tingin niyo anong gagawin ng physician? Of course, hindi magda-diagnose agad-agad yung physician. Anong gagawin ng physician? Magre-request po siya ng physical and laboratory exams. So magre-request po siya ng physical and laboratory exams. And ano po yung output ng examinations na ito? Of course, ang output po nila ay results. Now, these results of the examinations are actually now we consider as measurements. Measurements. Okay? And these measurements will allow now the doctor later on to determine the condition of the patient. this scenario that I have presented, class, now this scenario that I have presented can actually have a bigger picture as well. Okay? So when we talk now about this bigger picture, no, dan po papasok yung ating epidemiologist. Okay? So the epidemiologist class is actually the counterpart of the primary care physician that I have mentioned a while ago. Whereas, yung population ngayon, ang counterpart ng individual na sinasabi ko sa scenario kanina. Okay? And also, instead of getting measurements from the physical or laboratory examination, yung measurements po na gagamitin ng epidemiologist to diagnose or to assess the health status of a population is through vital statistics. Okay? So the doctor of the population now, which is the epidemiologist, will utilize measurements not anymore in the form of yung basic na physical or laboratory examinations, but rather the measurements that comes from the vital statistics. Yun yung gagamitin ng epidemiologist ngayon to determine the health status of the population. And as a consequence of that one, he or she, no, yung ating epidemiologist, will be able to limit the disease, injury, and death in a community or in a population, and also to prevent or limit outbreaks or epidemics of a disease and injury in a given community or population. Okay? So now, I have mentioned already epidemiologist. Okay? So, epidemiologist is a person. Now, that person is focused on the field called epidemiology. Okay, so now let us define epidemiology. So, define this term, let us begin with its etymology. I hope you're familiar with what etymology means. Okay, so the etymology of epidemiology, diba? Rhyming. So the etymology of epidemiology, it actually comes from two Greek words. Now, the word epidemiology comes from two Greek words. Those two Greek words are epi and demos. Epi and demos. Epi meaning on, okay? On or upon. No? Epi means on or upon. And then demos po means people. If we're going to combine the meaning of those two Greek words, it simply means a study on what befalls upon a population. Okay? So, epidemiology also is said to be a population medicine. Okay? Kasi remember, bakit po siya population medicine? Kasi po yung pasyente natin dito ay isang population. No? Hindi po isang individual lang. Now, going back to the definition of epidemiology. So, aside from defining it according to its etymology, we also need to really elaborate and give a proper definition for epidemiology. So there are many definitions that have been proposed, but the one presented here is the one that is widely accepted. Okay? So epidemiology is defined as the study of the distribution and determinants of health-related states or events in a specified population, the application of this study to control health problems. Kung mapapansin niyo po yung definition po na epidemiology, medyo mataas po siya. So to completely understand this definition, kailangan po natin siyang chop muna into pieces. That is why I highlighted in red some key terms for us to fully understand the definition of epidemiology. So let's have first the word study. Okay? So yun po yung first word natin sa definition ng epidemiology, study. So, what do we mean when we say epidemiology is a study? When we say study, it means that this field or this term, epidemiology, it is a scientific discipline. And when we say that it is a scientific discipline, it means that this field, it is data data-driven. When we say data-driven, it means that it relies on a systematic and unbiased approach to the collection, analysis, and interpretation of data. Okay, so that is why it is said to be a study. The next key term in the definition of epidemiology is the word distribution. So this term here, distribution, actually talks about the frequency and the pattern of the health-related events. Okay, so when we talk about frequency, class, we're just looking here into the number, the count of health events, and also the number of cases for every health event in a population. Again po, when we talk about frequency here, we're just looking at the count or the number of health events and the number of cases for every health event in a population. Ito naman po, pattern. So, kasali po rin po siya under distribution. So, when we talk about pattern po, we're just looking at the occurrence of the health event by time, place, and person. Again, when we say pattern here, we're just looking at the occurrence of the health event by time, place, and person. So let's have first time. So for example, yung pattern ng isang sakit, lumalabas daw siya yearly. That's an example of a pattern in terms of time. How about for place? Like for example, usong-uso yung respiratory illnesses sa ating miners. Okay? So, saan ba nagtatrabaho yung miners? Of course, sa mga mining sites. Okay? So, that's in terms of place. And then, how about in terms of the pattern of disease in terms of person? Oh, what is an example for that one? Example, when we talk about marital status. Single pa man mo tanan. Pero let's just have an example. No? For example, mas prone daw na magkaroon ng depression ang isang taong single compared sa married na. Example lang po yun ha. So that's an example of a pattern. Okay? So sa mga married, wala daw. Pero sa mga single, meron. Okay? O di kaya behavior. No? So sa person pa rin po tayo ha. So behavior, for example, ang sakit na cirrhosis. I hope you're familiar with cirrhosis. No? Okay, tapos na po kayo sa Ana Fisho. So I hope you're familiar with that one. So cirrhosis. No? For example, cirrhosis daw. No? Common siya sa mga taong mahilig minom ng alak. Di ba? So, yan yung titingnan natin dito sa pattern. Okay, we are looking at the occurrence of the health event by time, place, or person. Okay? So, that's for distribution. How about the term determinants? When we talk about determinants, class, we're looking here at the factors that will influence the occurrence of disease and other health-related events. So what are examples of the determinants I am referring to here? So example would be your demographic characteristics and even the genetic makeup of the individuals comprising the population. Okay? So let's proceed with the other terms that I highlighted in red. So what else? Now, the health-related states or events. So ano po ibig sabihin nitong health-related states or events? It's anything that affects the well-being of a population. Actually, class, others, they have a shorthand way of writing this term, health-related states or events. We usually write it as a word, disease. Okay? Pero kung disease kasi ang gagamitin na term, ang problema lang natin dyan, ang iniisip po kasi nila pag sinabing disease ay usually yung mga caused by microorganisms. Okay? So para mas klaro, kaya po dito sa ating definition, ang ginamit po na term ay health-related states or events. Next, another term that I highlighted in red would be specified population. Of course, I've mentioned a while ago that when we talk about epidemiology, no, ang mga taong involved dyan is yung tinatawag nating epidemiologist na nagsiserve as the doctor, and yung kanyang magiging pasyente ay yung population. Okay? Kaya po specified population yung term natin dito. And then, last term is application. So bakit po may kailangan application? Of course, no? After you assess and after you diagnose the health status of the population, and you came to a conclusion, or you come to a conclusion na no, may problema sa health status ng population, of course, you need to utilize that diagnosis for you to come up with proper interventions. Okay? So ito po yung main goal. Remember? Yung main goal natin. To propose or to make interventions so that these interventions could control or prevent disease. Okay? So, I hope by elaborating the terms found in the definition a while ago of epidemiology, you can now fully understand no, what epidemiology is. Now, let us proceed to the brief history of epidemiology. Now, the roots of epidemiology can actually be traced back to Hippocrates. I hope you're familiar with Hippocrates. So Hippocrates is actually considered as the father of medicine. Okay, so what is the contribution of Hippocrates in the field of epidemiology? So he was actually the one who suggested the relationship between the occurrence of disease and the physical environment. Okay, so yan po yung contribution niya to epidemiology. Ngayon, in the course of history po, there was a time, no, I hope you also still remember your subject in social studies, talking about world history. But there was a time in history that the Greek and the Roman civilization fell. And during the time that these great civilizations fell, Europe returned to this what we call spiritual era. During this time, most people believe that disease is caused by spiritual entities. So, for example, ay gikulam siya. No? Kaya during this time, maraming naniniwala sa mga witches. Correct? So, gikulam siya, gano'n. And because ito po yung rampant na belief during this time, kaya po, there were few advances only in epidemiology. Actually, even in the field of science in general. Di ba? So, few lang po yung advances dito. Okay? And dahil po few lang yung advances natin sa epidemiology during this era, kaya po nangyari, nagkaroon ng maraming epidemics. So, there was an epidemic of plague, leprosy, smallpox, malaria, syphilis, and yellow fever. Okay? So, next po, fast forward tayo ng konti. Let's move in the time of Dr. Benjamin Rush. No, kasi ito, another na naman po ito na significant event related to the history of epidemiology. So, ang contribution po ni Dr. Benjamin Rush is yung kanyang ginawa po, he tried to trace the cases, or rather he tried to find the source of the cases of yellow fever in Philadelphia. Okay? So, yung activity po na ginawa niya to try to find the source of the cases of yellow fever in Philadelphia is actually already epidemiology. Okay? Kaso lang po, ang problema natin kay Dr. Benjamin Rush, mali po yung source na na-find out niya. Okay? So, para po kasi sa kanya, si yellow fever raw po is caused by the vapors from decaying coffee beans. No? Actually, that is not the case. No? Pero, Kanya, yun yung source. Okay? It is only the person of Walter Reed na correct yung conclusion ni Dr. Benjamin Rush na yung yellow fever po ay caused by vapors from decaying coffee beans. So si Walter Reed po, siya yung nag-correct at sinabi niyang hindi. No? Ang yellow fever is caused by a virus that is found in a mosquito or that can be found in a mosquito, Aedes aegypti. Okay? So, ibig sabihin po, virus, no? Hindi po dahil sa coffee bean or amoy ng coffee bean, no? Dahil po raw sa virus na nasa mosquito. Okay? Or posibleng nasa mosquito. Okay? Ang downside lang po sa nangyari dito kay Benjamin Rush and kay Walter Reed is that na-correct na ni Walter Reed si Benjamin Rush a century later pa. So, medyo matagal po na na-correct si Dr. Benjamin Rush. Okay? Then we have this one. An epidemic in London in 1849. Actually, this part or this event actually is the most, for me lang po personally, is the most remarkable event in the history of epidemiology because it is in this time wherein you can really see the different activities that we do in epidemiology. Okay? So ano pala ang nangyari dito? Now, during 1849, there was an outbreak of cholera in London. There was an epidemic of cholera in London. So, ang nag-try po na mag-solve ng case ay si John Snow. I think most of you are familiar with the name Jon Snow. Pero hindi po yung Jon Snow sa Game of Thrones, but rather ibang Jon Snow po ito. At least, di ba, madali lang ma-memorize yung kanyang pangalan. So, Jon Snow, ginawa po niya para ma-solve yung case of the epidemic of cholera, nag-try po siyang mag-interview ng mga taong affected with cholera. So, nagtanong-tanong siya na, anong ginawa mo? No? Bakit ka nagkaroon ng cholera? And other questions pa. So, nag-interview po siya ng mga taong affected with cholera. And after interviewing and after gathering the results, what Jon Snow did was the thing or the activity that we call mapping. Specifically, it's called spot mapping. So we have here a picture sa ginawa ni Jon Snow na mapping. So ito po siya. Ay, map lang pala ito. So gagamitin ko na lang ang map na ito para mapakita sa inyo kung ano ba talaga ang tinatawag nating spot mapping. So yung ginawa po ni Dr. Jon Snow, no, after interviewing the affected individuals, nag-spot mapping siya. So sa spot mapping po, ang gagawin nyo lang, kung ito yung map ng London for example, so lalagyan niya ng X mark. Lalagyan niya ng mga X marks. Okay? And then after paglagay ng X marks, napansin po ni Dr. Jon Snow na, parang concentrated ata yung X marks dito sa Broad Street. So concentrated raw po yung X marks dito sa Broad Street. So ngayon, ang ginawa po ni Jon Snow, so mas na-curious siya, ano ba meron dito sa Broad Street kung bakit concentrated yung cases. So nag-survey siya, nag-conduct siya ng surveillance, and then nagtanong-tanong din siya sa mga tao. Then later napansin niya na yung common pala na ginagawa ng mga tao dito ay umiinom sila ng tubig galing dito sa isang communal well. No? Dito sa isang communal well. So, ang ginawa po ni Jon Snow, no, nag-conclude siya na baka ito ang source ng cholera. So, tatanggalin ko yung handle, yung pump handle. No? And, true enough, no, tanggal niya ng pump handle, unti-unting nawala yung cases ng cholera. Okay? So, kaya po, No? Kung mapapansin nyo, and gusto ko rin po ito i-point out din sa inyo, yung ginawa po ni Jon Snow, from interviewing the affected people up until doing an intervention, that is actually what we do in epidemiology. That is why Dr. Jon Snow is also known as the father of field epidemiology. Okay? Again, Dr. Jon Snow is known as the father of field epidemiology because of this one. So, ngayon, ito FYI lang po, kung punta kayo sa London, kapag matatapos ng pandemic na ito, kung punta po kayo sa London, hindi niyo na po makikita yung pump. Ha? Baka kasi pupunta kayo sa Broad Street, no? Hala, kanitong pump, no? Nagitanggal ni Jon Snow ang handle. Okay? So, pagpunta nyo ngayon sa London, no, hindi nyo na makikita yung original na pump doon. So, makikita nyo na lang is yung replica ng pump. Okay? Honor, no, what Jon Snow did. Okay? Okay. Now, after the time of Dr. Jon Snow, here comes now Louis Pasteur. So, bakit po kailangan natin ipasok dito si Louis Pasteur? Kasi po, kung mapapansin nyo kanina kay Jon Snow, ang sinabi lang po niya na source of infection is yung pump, yung communal well. Pero hindi na talaga niya na-specify kung ano ba talaga ang cause. No? For example, ano ba talaga ang cause ng cholera? No? Bakit may cholera? Okay, so wala na niya yun na kita. Okay? Wala na niya yun na studihan. Okay? Kaya po kailangan natin ngayon ipasok si Louis Pasteur para ma-enlighten tayo and ma-enlighten din sila nung time na yon ano ba talaga yung definite cause of cholera. Okay? So Louis Pasteur was the one who proposed the germ theory of disease. So what does this theory state? So this theory states, class, that diseases are caused by microorganisms. In other words, since cholera is a disease, then definitely cholera is caused by a microorganism. And it was through Robert, I searched how to pronounce his name, no? Ang pagbasa doon sa kanyang pangalan is maybe Cook, no? Robert Cook. Pero ilang klase, importante po ang spelling. Okay? So, yun siya. So, it was through this person, no, na nabigyan po talaga ng enlightenment yung ating scientist na cholera po is caused by Vibrio cholerae, no? A bacteria called Vibrio cholerae. Okay? So, ibig sabihin po, yung epidemic na nangyari sa time ni Jon Snow, no, it was caused by a bacteria called Vibrio cholerae. Sir, paano po napunta si Vibrio cholerae doon sa communal well? No? Na-find out po kasi, hindi na po sa time ni Jon Snow, na-find out po siya years later pa, na yung well pala, o yung tubig sa underground, no? Yung underground water po pala contaminated with sewage. No? Kaya raw, no, nagkaroon ng outbreak of cholera. Okay, so yun po yun siya. So ngayon, class, because of these events, no, from the past, okay, that is why it allowed, these events allowed for epidemiology to become a sophisticated field of science, no? So, mapapansin niyo po ngayon, no, ginagamit na po si epidemiology to determine the effectiveness of vaccine. Ito siya na aspect, ano masyado sa mga news natin ngayon, di ba? Mapapansin niyo, nagko-conduct ng clinical trials to test the effectivity of a vaccine. Kino-consider hindi lang po isang tao, no? Maraming tao, population. Okay? So, papansin niyo sa news ang number na binibigay nila na coverage ng study nila is, 'di ba, 30,000 or more, 'di ba? So, population po. So, makikita niyo talaga evolve ang epidemiology in terms of determining the effectiveness of a vaccine. Okay? Even determining the possible causes of occupational illnesses. No? Like for example, Yung example kanina na bakit maraming respiratory illnesses sa mga minors, no? O di kaya pwede rin siya, applicable din po yung epidemiology sa pag-look into those unintentional injury deaths, no? Like, bakit maraming vehicular accidents sa lugar na ito, no? So, marami pong pwedeng masukan si epidemiology and marami siyang use. Kaya po, no, masasabi talaga it is a sophisticated field of science. Okay? So now, let us proceed with the 3 types of epidemiology. Okay. So the 3 types of epidemiology is descriptive, analytical, and experimental. I'll begin with descriptive epidemiology. So when we say descriptive, no, from the word description, describe. So what we're doing here, no, in this type of study is we're just going to describe distribution of the health status in terms of age, gender, race, geography, time, and etc. Like for example, if you want to study the death rate of cardiovascular diseases among males, that is an example of descriptive epidemiology. O di kaya, for example, if you want to study the mortality rate of COVID-19 here in the Philippines, that is descriptive epidemiology. Okay? So in descriptive epidemiology class, you're just assessing the health status, the health problems, and the health needs through collection of data, the use of surveys. Okay? So, it's also one of the activities of descriptive epidemiology, yung tinatawag nating disease surveillance. Okay? So, the disease surveillance po, it is actually an information-based activity and it involves the collection, analysis, and interpretation of large volumes of data. So large volume po, kasi remember, population po yung kino-consider natin dito. So it involves the collection, analysis, and interpretation of large volumes of data. And this can originate from a variety of sources. And this data class will be collated and then after collation, no, it will be used to assess the health status or to evaluate the effectiveness of control or prevention measures. Okay? So, yan po yung mga ginagawa natin and yan po yung sinasabi nating descriptive epidemiology. Okay? So, let's proceed po to analytical epidemiology. So, what we do in analytical epidemiology is we study the etiology of the different health-related states or events in a population. When we say etiology, we're talking about causes here. So we study the causes of health-related states or events. In this type of epidemiological study, we answer the questions why and how. No? So kanina sa descriptive epidemiology, yung questions po na sinasagutan natin ay what, who, where, when, and how many. Sa analytical epidemiology po, yung tanong na sinasagot natin dito is why and how. Okay? Also, in this type of epidemiological study class, we test the hypotheses about relationships between health problems and possible risk factors. Okay? And to test this hypothesis class, what we do in analytical epidemiology is we need to do a comparison between this what we call case group and a control group. So what is the difference between these two groups? No? Kasi kailangan natin malaman yung difference ng dalawa kasi sila yung i-compare natin sa analytical epidemiology. So let me give an example para mas madaling maintindihan. So for example, there was this restaurant, no? Di nila mag-name of restaurant, no? Para walang issue. For example, there was this restaurant and then may mga tao pong nagkasakit ng hepatitis A. No? Kung kumain sila sa restaurant na ito. And it's already been 6 weeks, no? 6 weeks na po na laging may nagkakasakit ng hepatitis A galing sa restaurant na ito. Ngayon, ang gagawin ng epidemiologist, magko-conduct siya ng interview doon sa mga kumain sa restaurant. Okay? Yung mga kumain sa restaurant na nagkasakit ng hepatitis A, sila po yung mabibilang sa tinatawag nating case group. Again, yung mga tao pong nagkasakit, no? Yun po yung mabibilang sa tinatawag nating case group. Doon naman po sa kumain sa restaurant, wala sila nagkasakit. That is what we call, or they will belong to this what we call control group. Okay? So ngayon, ang gagawin ng epidemiologist, mag-i-interview yan siya sa dalawang grupo na ito. Like for example, ano bang kinain mo? No? Kung pumunta ka sa restaurant na ito. And then, ang gagawin next ng epidemiologist, i-compare niya ngayon yung mga kinain ng case group at ng control group. Kaya po sinabi ko kanina sa definition ng analytical epidemiology, there is a comparison between a case group and a control group. Okay? So, yan po ang ginagawa natin sa analytical epidemiology. No? Para malaman natin ano yung cause ng pagkakasakit nila ng, kung example natin ang ating gagamitin, no? Anong cause ng pagkakasakit nila ng hepatitis A. Okay? And of course, analytical epidemiology, since we divide them into two groups, of course, it also involves counts or numbers. That is why we can also say that we are testing the hypothesis here by giving a quantity to this relationship stated here. Okay? So that's for analytical epidemiology. Then we have the third type, your experimental epidemiology. So what is this one? So in experimental epidemiology class, it involves now the intervention. Okay? Also, in this type of study, it involves two groups. So i-divide mo pa rin yung mga tao into two groups, but this time may iba po tayong pangalan para sa kanila. Meron pa rin po tayong tinatawag na control group sa experimental epidemiology. Yung isa po, hindi na case group, but rather ang tawag natin sa kanya, treatment group. So the two groups involved in experimental epidemiology is the control group and the treatment group. Yung treatment group, sila yung tatanggap ng intervention. Yung control group mo, sila yung magtatanggap ng tinatawag nating placebo. I think, meron siguro sa iba sa inyo, familiar sa term na placebo, no? Kasi minsan lumalabas yan sa news. So ano ba ibig sabihin ng placebo? Ibig sabihin, ang ibibigay nyo lang sa kanila ay, for example, kung vaccine effectiveness ang study, ang ibibigay nyo lang sa control group is yung mga tinatawag nating blank doses. Ibig sabihin, magbibigay ka sa kanila ng dose na walang laman na vaccine. Ganun po yung context ng placebo. Okay? So we have two groups. Treatment group, sila yung tatanggap na intervention. Control group, sila yung walang matatanggap na intervention. So, ang gagawin po, again, in this type of study, you're going to evaluate the effect of the intervention. Kung may significant na difference ba between the treatment group and the control group. And if there would be a significant difference, that could already allow us to make a conclusion regarding the effectiveness of the intervention. Okay, so that is experimental epidemiology. Let us proceed with the objective of an epidemiological study. So there is a common objective for the three types of epidemiological studies, and that is to obtain an estimate. Remember, we use here the word estimate. Ibig sabihin po, hindi exact yung number na binibigay natin dito. It's just an estimate. So to obtain an estimate of an epidemiological measure without error. Okay? Without error. Now, we're talking about epidemiological studies class. No? If you have an objective, of course, this could lead now to this what we call research. Correct? So actually, epidemiological studies are actually a type or a form of research. And for every research class, it always begins with a problem. That problem is usually in the form of a question. Okay, so now let us try to discuss what are the different classes of research questions for epidemiology. Okay, so these are the 6 classes of research questions for epidemiology. So you have your occurrence, causal effects, etiology. Third is diagnostics. Fourth, intervention effects. Fifth, prognosis. And sixth, patient experiences. By the way, what does prognosis mean? Prognosis, we're just referring here, or it just means what? It just refers to how someone will recover from an illness or injury. So these are the 6 classes of research questions. Occurrence, causal effects or etiology, diagnostics, intervention effects, prognosis, and patient experiences. Mga katabi po nila na questions, these are general examples of each class of research question. General examples lang po yan sila. Like for example, for occurrence, a general example for that one is how many are becoming diseased? For causal effects or etiology, a general example for that one is why are some diseased? For diagnostics, how can we tell whether someone is diseased? Intervention effects, what can we do for the deceased? Then for prognosis, how does the deceased fare? And then for patient experiences, how does it feel to have the disease? Okay, now, before you proceed to the next slide, I would like you to have a simple activity with the classes of research questions. So I would like you personally, in your own pace, to try to create research questions for each class, given that your topic is COVID-19 among students. Okay? Again, before, wag niyo muna continue yung video, i-pause nyo muna. Pwede nyo i-pause muna. Kaya wag nyo muna tingnan yung next slide. So try to make research questions for every class, given that the topic is COVID-19 among students. And then later on, try to check. So kung tingin nyo tama ba yung sagot nyo. Okay. So, tingnan natin. Okay, so this is my example. Okay, so given that the topic is COVID-19 among students, so let us make research questions for every class. So for occurrence, I gave an example here. So what is the incidence rate of COVID-19 among students? Diba? So tinitingnan natin yung bilang ng COVID-19 cases among students. Second, wala ko na-edit. So second is, sorry about that one. So second is, how much does not wearing a mask increase the incidence rate of COVID-19? So we're looking here at the cause of the cases of COVID-19. Third, diagnostics. So how good is the real-time polymerase chain reaction in diagnosing COVID-19? Fourth, this one is an example, a concrete example under intervention effects. So how much does hand washing decrease the incidence rate of COVID-19? By the way, if you're still not very not well versed about incidence rate, okay lang po yan kasi mas i-discuss natin yan sa next na video. Okay? So, going back, so this is an example of intervention effects. For prognosis, how long do college students with COVID-19 live? Diba? So that's an example for prognosis na class of research question. And the last, patient experiences. So how does it feel to be a student with COVID-19? So we're looking here sa experiences ng pasyente. Okay? So I hope you understand now the different classes of research questions for epidemiology. Now let us proceed with the concepts of disease occurrence. Okay. Now, when we talk about disease occurrence class, it could be influenced by several conditions and several factors. And these conditions and factors can actually be simplified. That is what we call epidemiologic triangle. So this is now your epidemiologic triangle. Okay? So each component of the epidemiologic triangle must be analyzed and understood for the comprehension and prediction of the pattern of disease. And any change class in the component, so any change in the following components could alter the equilibrium of this triangle, and that could lead to the occurrence of disease. Okay, so this epidemiological triangle class is actually very useful for many diseases, but is proven to be inadequate for some diseases like your cardiovascular diseases, cancer, no? And sir, bakit po siya hindi useful or bakit hindi po siya adequate for these kinds of diseases? Kasi po, yung mga diseases po kasi na nabanggit ko, yung cardiovascular diseases and cancer, they have multiple contributing causes po kasi. Kaya po sinabi ko na yung epidemiological triangle, it is inadequate for those kinds of diseases. But generally, most of the diseases, pwede na po itong triangle na ito. Okay? So now, what we're going to do is let us try to define first each of these components. Okay? So let's begin with the host. Host class is defined as any susceptible organism. Remember, you have there the keyword susceptible. Okay? So for example, chickenpox. So hindi mo na pwedeng sabihin na ang tao ay isang host for chickenpox kung immune na siya sa chickenpox. So dapat po pag sinabi natin host, susceptible po siya sa isang sakit or sa isang agent. Depende kung ano yung agent or sakit yung kino-consider mo. Then when we talk about agent, it is the one that caused the disease. And then when we talk about environment, it includes all factors, maybe physical, biological, or social, that could inhibit or promote disease transmission. Okay. Now that we're done defining the different components of the epidemiologic triangle, let us proceed now to the different factors or examples under each component. So let's begin with the host. Okay. So the host class or the host factors or the factors under the host are said to be intrinsic factors. No? Why are they called intrinsic factors? Because they are the factors that can influence an individual's exposure, susceptibility, or response to the agents. And others class would call these intrinsic factors as the risk factors. Okay? So these are factors that can influence an individual's exposure, susceptibility, or response to agents. So what are these factors? First, genetic makeup of an individual. So di ba, kapag po may genetic defect ang isang baby, for example, no, that could lead now to that individual or that person to become susceptible to diseases. Okay? Then we have also age. So, di ba, alam na po natin na kapag masyadong bata or masyadong matanda, no, they are immunocompromised. Then in terms of sex, no, for example, no, sa mga babae, mas common na nagkaroon ng breast cancer. Ganon. Okay? What else? No? Ethnic group, no? Physiologic factors like fatigue, pregnancy, or stress. Lalo na itong stress, di ba? Kapag masyadong stress ang isang tao, huwag siya magkasakit kasi yung immune system din niya mababa. Okay? And then, immunologic experience. So ito, related din ito sa immunity ng individual. Okay? Ito siya, nag-a-affect din ito or nakaka-affect din ito sa susceptibility ng individual. So kapag po yung experience niya, yung immunologic experiences niya maganda, of course, mas protektado po yung individual from diseases. And how can a person mold his or her immunologic experience? It could be through active or passive immunity. I hope you're familiar with these terms. No? Kasi again, tapos na kayo nag-anaphysia. So inactive immunity, di ba? We allow. Also, no, I have discussed this one, lalo na dun sa mga under sa akin sa PMLS1, I have already discussed no, what active and passive immunity is. So di ba in active immunity, we allow the body to create its own antibodies by exposing our body to the agent itself. Okay? Sa passive immunity po, ang ginagawa lang po dito, tumatanggap lang po tayo ng antibodies. Okay? Okay. So, yan po. No, factor din yan, no, sa pagiging susceptible ng individual to diseases. And of course, no, factor din po if meron tayong mga tinatawag nating comorbidities. Di ba? Ito siya na factor, masyado itong sikat yon sa ating COVID-19, no? Comorbidities. No, may mga pre-existing diseases. Tapos, ma-infect pa talaga with COVID-19. So, mas magiging malala yung sakit ng individual. Okay? Let's proceed with the agents of disease. So for the agents of disease, so what is presented here are not factors, but rather examples. No? So first, in terms of nutrition, nutritive elements, sinasabi lang po dito na if there would be an excess or a deficiency of a specific nutrient in the body, that could lead to a disease. Okay? And you will learn more about this sa CPH lab nyo kasi po I guess sa CPH lab nyo ma-encounter yung lecture about nutrition and the different diseases, no, for nutrition or under nutrition, no, the topic. So then there are also diseases caused by chemical agents, no, like poisons, no, which are toxic to the body. There are diseases naman po caused by heat, light, and radiation. Lalo-lalo na itong radiation, no? It can cause cancer. And then, yung pinakasikat na agents of disease, yung ating infectious agents, yung ating mga microorganisms, parasites, protozoans, bacteria, and viruses, and even fungi. Okay? Then the third component, we have the environment. So we have here the factors under the component environment, and these factors are said to be extrinsic factors. And these extrinsic factors, class, can affect now the agent and the opportunity for exposure of the host to the agent. So what are the examples of these extrinsic factors that we are talking about? So you have the physical factors. We are referring here the surroundings, no? The socioeconomic environment of the host. Oh. So when we talk about this one, we're referring to the occupation of the host, no? O di kaya yung urbanization ng lugar. Kasi di ba, for example, pag highly urbanized yung lugar, no, mas highly dense yung population, no? So mas prone na mas pabilis mag-transmit yung sakit, no? So ganun po. And even the biological factors, so yung mga living things na nakalibot po sa atin. Like for example, yung mga living things na pwede maging intermediate hosts or carriers ng mga microorganisms. So those are extrinsic factors that we consider under the component environment. Okay? So now let's proceed with talking about epidemiologic data. Okay. So in epidemiologic data class, it's very important for you to know that the epidemiologic data is not constant. That's why, di ba, mapapansin nyo po ngayon, every day naglalabas po ang DOH ng bagong data. Kasi nga, epidemiologic data is not constant. Ibig sabihin po, for example, magbibigay sila ng mortality rate, no, yung rate ng mga namatay na tao sa COVID-19. So yung binigay nila na rate ngayon, iba na po yan pagka bukas. No? So hindi po constant yung data. Kaya always nag-update yung ating Department of Health. Now, analyze epidemiologic data class, you need to organize data according to these three variables. Okay? So these variables are time, person, and place. So unahin po natin yung time. Okay? So when we talk about the variable time, so ibig sabihin po, yung data mo, to-organize mo siya as to ilan possibly na-expose yung tao o di kaya ilan kaya nagsimula manifest yung symptoms ng pasyente or ng tao. So pwede na through time mo i-organize yung epidemiological data mo. Pwede na po by utilizing the variable person. So meaning, i-organize mo po yung epidemiological data mo through the characteristics of a person. Like for example, i-organize mo siya through age, or by race, or by sex, by immune status, or by marital status. Okay? So, usually po, kapag nag-uusapan natin persons, usually po yung characteristic na very common na ginagamit to organize the epidemiological data is age, sex, and occupation. Bakit po? Kasi remember, di ba, when we talk about age, no? Related po dito yung level of immunity ng tao. Okay? Kapag masyadong bata, masyadong matanda, no? Mababa yung level of immunity, so mas mataas yung potential nila na magkaroon ng sakit. Okay? Kaya isa ito sa mga common characteristics na or variables na ginagamit ng epidemiologists to organize the data. Another one is sex. No? Kasi po, it has been established na kapag sinabi nating lalaki, no, mataas yung mortality rate nila. Pag babae naman po, mataas yung morbidity rate nila. Again, when we say mortality rate, ibig sabihin, we're talking about the death rate here. No? When we talk about the morbidity rate, we're talking about the rate as to the number of the persons who has the disease. No? So, for males, mataas daw po yung kanilang mortality rate. For females, mataas yung morbidity rate. Kaya po, isa ito sa mga common characteristics or variables na ginagamit ng epidemiologists to organize the data. Okay? And occupation. So, it could also, or it is also a common characteristic used to organize the data. Then the third one is through place or by place rather. So, they may organize ang data by place or by geographical locations. Okay? Kasi po, alam naman po natin na kapag urbanized, highly urbanized yung area, mataas yung population density. So, ibig sabihin po, marami yung susceptible na individuals. Okay? So, pwede ganun po yung gagamitin natin, no? Via geographical areas or socio-economic areas. No? Pwede ganun po yung pag-classify natin ng data. Okay. Now, let's proceed with the patterns of disease occurrence and distribution. So, the first pattern that I would like to introduce to you is sporadic disease. So how do we know if a disease is sporadic? So it is sporadic if there is an intermittent occurrence of isolated and unrelated cases. Like for example, we have here rabies. So, ang cases mo ng rabies, kalat-kalat pa siya sa ating bansa. No? And it is intermittent in a specific local. No? Minsan merong case, minsan wala. So that is a sporadic disease. Kapag naman po sinabi nating endemic disease, no? Ang disease po sinabi nating endemic, it means it is constantly present in a population. Always siya nandyan. No? Always siya nandyan. So for example, yung schistosomiasis sa late and summer and filariasis in Sorsogon. Kapag naman po constantly present yung isang disease sa population, and then yung number ng affected or yung number ng may sakit sa population na yan, mataas, that is the time that we can consider the disease as hyper-endemic. No? Persistently high yung level ng disease or occurrence ng disease on that population. That is hyper-endemic. So I have here a graph for you to be able to visualize what an endemic disease looks like when we convert it into a graph. So kung makikita nyo po, almost straight line lang po siya. No, yung number of cases of a disease, no, as we move along time, almost constant lang siya. Okay? Almost constant yung value niya. Okay? Now, the next term here, no, is epidemic. So ano po itong epidemic? Kung makikita niyo po sa graph, no, may biglang pagtaas, may spike of the number of cases. The definition of epidemic, class, is that it is an unexpectedly large number of cases of disease in a particular population in a relatively short period of time. So, di ba? Oh, short period of time and then may sudden increase in the number of cases. And talking about sudden increase and talking about epidemic, di ba? Dito po nagsimula si COVID-19. Remember, si COVID-19 po, hindi siya kinonsider na pandemic agad. Saan po ba siya nagsimula? Nagsimula po siya sa pagiging epidemic. Okay? So, ang next po na term na na-encounter nyo, na sinabi ko, is the word pandemic. So, ano po itong pandemic? So, pandemic po, it is an outbreak of disease over a wide geographical area, meaning worldwide na po ito siya. Okay? Pero klasa, huwag niyo po masyadong i-take absolutely yung term na worldwide. Na, hala, pandemic worldwide. So, ibig sabihin dito sa may Antarctica, sa Arctic, lahat ng lugar sa mundo merong ganitong sakit. Hindi po ganun ang ibig sabihin ng pandemic. Ang ibig sabihin lang po ng pandemic, ang ibig sabihin lang po ng worldwide, most parts of the globe, meron pong or nakaka-experience po ng ganito na sakit. Okay? Kaya po ngayon, si COVID-19, hindi na siya kinoconsider na epidemic. Kasi hindi lang po particular population, hindi lang po Chinese ngayon ang kanyang inaapektuhan. But worldwide na po yung kanyang coverage. Okay? And to learn more as to when an epidemic becomes pandemic, please read and comprehend carefully and understand the article that I posted in this module as your reading assignment. Okay? Okay. So to continue with the different patterns of disease, so we have here epizootics. So what is epizootic? This is a disease that occurs in animal populations. A disease outbreak that occurs in an animal populations. So example will be your bubonic plague. No? Ito yung um, bubonic plague, ito yung Black Death na sinasabi nila, no? And even St. Louis encephalitis, no? But later on, kani silang duha, from being an epizootic, naging epidemic sila. Kaya di ba, transfer sa tao, no? And FYI lang po, a person studying epizootic diseases is called epizootiologist. The epizootiologist. Okay? Yan po yung person na nagsastudy ng epizootics. And then the sixth one is epizoodemic. So epizoodemic po, it is a disease outbreak that now occurs both in animals and humans. Okay. So now, let's proceed to the last part of this video. No? Hindi pa pala last part, second to the last pa po. No? So let's now discuss the different phases or activities in epidemiology. So there are only 4 phases, class. First, the first phase studies the distribution of disease within populations. And by the way, class, na ito yung 4 phases na ito, these are actually done by Jon Snow as well. Sige. I-insert ko lang yung mga ginawa ni Jon Snow sa each phase. Okay? So first, studies the distribution of disease within population. So this is the first phase activity that we do in epidemiology. So we're looking here as to how much of the population is affected, sino yung mga affected, kailan sila na-affect or nagkasakit, at saan nag-occur yung sakit. Ito, di ba? Ito yung ginawa ni Jon Snow na mapping or spot mapping, correct? Second, No? Makes comparison. So, i-compare mo yung affected versus non-affected. So, ito yung ginawa ni Jon Snow after niya nag-perform ng mapping, spot mapping, di ba? So, nag-interview siya ng mga tao. Ano ba yung mga ginawa ng mga taong ito? Ay, ito, uminom sa well. Ito, hindi. Ito, uminom na naman ulit sa well. No? Nag-make of comparisons. Then, after that one, the third phase is you need to make inferences or conclusion. So when we talk about inferences, these are evidence-based guesses. No, di na mag-ingon kag inference pero hula-hula lang di ay. So they should be an evidence-based guesses. So you're going to make inferences na or conclusions. And in this phase, it is in this phase wherein you can now diagnose the or assess the what? The source of the problem of the population. Okay? And of course, after diagnosing or assessing the, for example, the source or the health status of a population, you're now going to make or to seek rather disease prevention. Pero kung hindi na kaya sa prevention, you're going to make now interventions. And ito yung ginawa ni John Snowden. No? Tinanggal niya yung pump handle. No? So, kung makikita nyo, di ba, these 4 phases or activities in epidemiology is done by John Snow. No? Si Hippocrates, hindi naman niya ginawa itong 4 phases. Diba? Si Benjamin Rush, hindi rin. No? Si Walter Reed, hindi rin. Kaya po si John Snow yung tinaguriang father of field epidemiology. Okay? So now let's proceed to the last part of this video. No? Let's discuss now the specific roles no, that is in or that are involved in epidemiological investigations. Okay? And actually, no, mapapansin nyo po, most of what is listed, most or if not all, no, makikita nyo po sa news. Okay? So what are the different roles no, in epidemiological investigations? The specific roles that are involved in epidemiological investigations. So first, surveillance of the occurrence of notifiable disease. Second, coordinates with other members of the health team during the disease outbreak. So ito siya, class, na makikita nyo ito sa mga referrals na ginagawa sa checkpoints sa borders ng provinces. Ba, ang ginagawa nila, kapag po may mag-positive sa health screening sa border ng province, ang ginagawa nila, like for example, here in Davao City, i-refer nila to SPMC for another testing and quarantine. Then, participates in case findings. So, ito siya, pwede yung gawing example po dito yung ginawa nila Mayor Inday Sara na tawag niyang intensified case findings, di ba? Yung pumunta sila sa mga iba't ibang barangay to find COVID-19 positives. Fourth, isolate cases of communicable diseases, which is very evident as well in the news. Performs and teaches household members method concurrent and terminal disinfection. So this one, a very good example of this one is yung ginawa na executive order ni Mayor Inday Sara around end of April. Di ba? Remember nyo, may executive order kung saan may nakasulat na mga dates kung kailan mag-disinfect yung iba't ibang klase ng lugar. Okay? So that is a very good example of this role. No? What else? Gives health teachings to prevent further spread of disease to individuals and families. So this one is also very evident. No, diba? Kung mapapansin nyo kapag pupunta kayo sa FB page ng Department of Health, nagpa-publish sila ng mga journal articles almost every day to give us an update for COVID-19 in the Philippines. No? And then meron pong iba nagbibigay din ng webinars. No? So, marami pong roles na pwedeng gampanan ng mga tao in epidemiological investigations. Well, so follow-up cases and contacts. So a very good example of this one is yung natawag nating contact tracing. Itetest mo yung direct contact, for example, ng positive sa COVID-19. O di kaya, na-recover na siya from COVID-19, pero ipa-quarantine pa siya for 14 days and then ipapatest mo na naman ulit after 14 days to make sure na negative talaga siya or negative na talaga siya, naka-recover na talaga siya, di ba? So yan po, follow-up cases and contact. Third, organizes, coordinates, conducts community education campaign. Like for example, dito sa Davao City, may mga bars, tapos may mga loudspeaker sila, tapos yung sinasabi sa loudspeaker, yung content ang sinasabi sa loudspeaker is announcement type, regarding the preventive measures for COVID-19. Diba? So, yun. What else? So, refers cases when necessary. So, this is in relation to another role stated the previous slide. Coordinates with other concerned community agencies. So, di ba mapapansin nyo? For example, si Epidemiology Bureau of the DOH, nagko-coordinate siya with other departments. CDILG, CDSWD, nakikipag-coordinate siya doon for epidemiological investigations. And lastly, accomplishes and keeps records and reports and submits to proper office or agency. So, di ba? Every laboratory or every accredited laboratory for COVID-19 testing, they are required to submit and accomplish records to have an accurate number of, or to have a close estimate as to the number of COVID-19 cases here in the Philippines. Okay? So, makikita niyo po, marami pong pwede maging roles na pwedeng gampanan ang iba't ibang klaseng tao when we talk about epidemiological investigations. Okay? So, that is the end of this introduction to epidemiology, a discussion on the basics of epidemiology. Next video will focus now on the vital statistics. So I advise you that when you view the next video, make sure may calculator po kayong tabi. Kasi mag-focus tayo sa solving and computation sa next video. So thank you for listening. That's all.